bill. The Senate's already passed it, and President Biden expects to sign it. So I guess the only problem now is if we have all these road projects, who are we going to get to build the roads? Because it doesn't seem like anybody wants to go to work. But that's another story for another day. Leading into the essay about the silver lining to our dark cloud, we had some elections this week. And this is kind of a lead-in to my essay about the silver lining to our dark cloud. And we had elections today, or this week, in Virginia, in New Jersey, in Buffalo, in Minneapolis, okay? Virginia now has a GOP governor. And this was a guy who wasn't expected to win anything. Governor McAuliffe was the Democrat governor of Virginia. He was fairly popular. He had the backing of President Biden. He had the backing of former President Obama. And he was expected just to go ahead and coast. He didn't. In fact, he lost. He lost the election. And the people of Virginia basically said, enough is enough. And they voted out the status quo and voted in somebody who was different. In New Jersey, a very, very strong Democratic state, they almost voted out the Democratic governor by, fractions of a percentage point. The Democrat governor won. However, he was expected to lead. All the polls said he was going to win by over 11%. And I think 1 or 2 days later it took before they even were able to declare him the winner. It was very, very close. In the New Jersey state, in their state Senate, the New Jersey State Senate Speaker, I think it's the Speaker or whatever they call him up there, he lost his election. He was unseated by a guy who had never run for office before. His first office run was for the New Jersey State Senate. And what type of experience did he have? Oh, he was a truck driver. How much money did he spend on his campaign? $132. That's it. They elected this guy over one of the most powerful people in the Senate. In fact, probably the most powerful person in the New Jersey State Senate was unseated by a truck driver who put $132 into his campaign. Again, the people looked at it and they've spoken. In the city of Buffalo, New York, they had a mayoral election. Now, Buffalo is a strong Democratic state. I mean, they're not going to elect a Republican to anything up there. But in the primary, the incumbent, Byron Brown, months ago, was unseated by a AOC-backed socialist. Byron Brown was the seating mayor, and he was unseated in the primary by India Walton, who is a self-proclaimed socialist. And AOC backed him. But they had the election. And, of course, Byron Brown lost the election, so he can't run, right? Nah, he did run as a write-in candidate. When was the last time you heard of a write-in candidate winning an election? Well, he did this time. Because the people, after thinking they were mad and wanted to throw him out and put a socialist in, they thought, oh my God, what did we do here? And they actually wrote in Byron Brown. And he beat the socialist, India Walton, in the election. His name wasn't even on the ballot. The people wrote it in. That's unbelievable. That's a true indication that people do the right thing when the rubber hits the road. And last but certainly not least, the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. They were the hotbed for the defund the police. In fact, they even put it on the ballot. Hey, people, let's vote to defund the police. Just take the money away from the police. Get rid of the police and put in some type of social justice warriors to take care of the social justice and social injustices in our town. Well, that didn't last long because the people said, nah, we're not doing that. Put the police back in. Don't even talk about defunding the police. So I guess George Floyd's body is now cold. That bit of anger has passed, and the people of the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota came to their senses. They are not going to defund the police. Now, what does all this have to do with the silver lining to our dark cloud? Well, I'll tell you. There's a number of candidates out there. In fact, most candidates out there are they're worthless self-servers, and they do the beckoning of their party, not the people. But there are exceptions. And there's more and more exceptions all the time. And these exceptions are winning the elections, as I just mentioned. And as more people win like that, more people will start making that their campaign, because that's how politicians are. Number one, Senator Joe Manchin. Now, he's a Democrat from West Virginia. He's a centrist Democrat. And Mediaite.com reported on a story that's going to go ahead and actually put Senator Manchin in a stronger light. Senator Joe Manchin was loudly confronted by numerous Sunrise Movement climate change activists. This was Thursday morning. In fact, they greeted the West Virginia senator outside of his houseboat this morning, Thursday morning, and followed him to his Maserati, according to the Huffington Post's Jennifer Bendry. Now, these activists were protesting his opposition to large portions of President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, including measures related to climate change. Senator Manchin was heading toward a parking lot as a large group of protesters surrounded him chanting, "We want to live." The senator mostly ignored the crowd. Then, as Manchin was attempting to leave the parking garage, protesters blocked his exit, prompting the senator to go in reverse. Now, some of the protesters followed Manchin back into the garage. In a TikTok video posted to Twitter, a voice claims the senator tried to run us over. But that statement doesn't appear to be justified with what the video shows. Yeah, shocking. You film a video as proof, and the video proves that you're not accurate, that you're lying. "Pass the climate change bill," yelled one woman. "This is Joe Manchin's car, slowly pressing into our peaceful protesters." The demonstrators continued chanting, "We want to live," and hurled themselves in front of Manchin's moving vehicle. First of all, to throw yourself in front of a moving vehicle, not smart. Now, the incident comes a little over a month after protesters on the campus of Arizona State University took heat for creepily following Senator Kristen Sinema, Democrat from Arizona, the other very centrist senator who's objecting to these bills. Followed her into a ladies' room and filmed the encounter. Democrats, especially progressives, have heavily criticized Manchin and Sinema for being the two most vocal and visible roadblocks to President Biden's agenda. Now, the two senators are needed. The two senators' support is needed to pass this bill because the Senate is 50-50, 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats, so they don't have a majority. Vice President Harris would be the tiebreaker, but they don't have a majority. So they need, no Republicans are going for it, so they need every last Democrat. If you're an extremist like that, and you're doing stuff like this, you are just, the average American out there looks at this and shakes their head, and they're on the side of Manchin. Especially when you say, "See, look at my dopey TikTok video. Here's proof that Manchin's running us over." And the proof shows the opposite. You're disingenuous, you're a liar, you don't know what you're talking about. And the average American is not going to side with you. Now, why do I mention Joe Manchin? Because Joe Manchin is a man who thinks the way he thinks. He generally acts in the way his constituents, the folks that elected him, believe. And he thumbs his nose in the face of the Democratic Party because they didn't elect him. The people did. Joe Manchin is a patriot. Joe Manchin is a statesman, and we need more like him. Number two, this is on an article on The Hill. James Carville, who is a big-time liberal Democratic operative. He has been all his life. In fact, I think he is proof that aliens have come to Earth and bred with humans because James Carville looks like an alien gray to me. But he's a big-time Democratic political strategist. I disagree with him most of the time, but this time he's spot on. Again, this article out of The Hill. And Carville blames what he calls stupid wokeness for these Democratic losses in the election this week. Political strategist James Carville blamed his party's recent losses and weak performance in state elections to stupid wokeness. That was on Wednesday. The PBS NewsHour host Judy Woodruff asked Carville what went wrong for the Democratic Party in the Virginia gubernatorial race, in which Republican Glenn Youngkin beat former Governor Terry McAuliffe. Carville said, and I quote, "What went wrong is just stupid wokeness. Don't just look at Virginia and New Jersey. Look at Long Island. Look at Buffalo. Look at Minneapolis. Look at Seattle, Washington. I mean, this defund the police lunacy. This take Abraham Lincoln's name off of schools. I mean, people see that." Carville goes on. It's just really a suppressive effect all across the country on Democrats. Some of these people need to go to a woke detox center or something, he added. They're expressing a language that people just don't use, and there's backlash and a frustration in that. Now, Carville also said, or goes on to say, that suburbanites in Virginia and New Jersey pulled away from such wokeness. He pointed out that Youngkin never ran any ads against President Biden and suggests that the Republican candidate had simply allowed Democrats to pull the pin and watch their grenades go off. Now, see, that's a novel idea. Here's a guy that won an election that didn't run a negative campaign, and he won the election. Now, let me start over, again, quoting Carville. We've got to change that and not be about changing dictionaries and changing laws. These faculty lounge people that sit around mulling about I don't know what, they're not working. Now, Carville has described wokeness in the past, telling Sean Ealing of the Vox, Vox, earlier this year that wokeness is a problem. Wokeness is a problem and everybody knows it, according to Carville on the Vox. It's hard to talk to anybody today. And I talk to a lot of people in the Democratic Party who don't say this. Actually, it says who doesn't say this, but that's how Carville talks. They don't want to say it out loud. Now, there's a guy who is very much to the left of center, slamming wokeness, slamming the defund the police, slamming these radicals in the Democratic Party. And if you think that James Carville is a guy to the left slamming this, how about this guy, an article out of The Hill, Don Lemon, CNN anchor Don Lemon, who is very much to the left, said yesterday that while he disagreed with James Carville's assessment that the Democrats' weak performance and losses in state elections were due to stupid wokeness, but Lemon did say he agreed with Carville on Democrats' use of the defund the police term. Lemon says it's productive. Lemon says, look, I have a lot of respect for James Carville, and that Democrats used defund the police was unproductive. He has a lot of respect for Carville, and he understands the statement of what he's saying, but he doesn't necessarily agree with it. Defund the police, however, Lemon went on, I agree more than 100% with Carville. Defund the police was a stupid slogan and should never have been brought under the political spotlight, into the political realm. It was an activist term, Lemon added, but as far as being woke and wanting equality for people who are underserved in communities or minorities or women, I don't necessarily agree with that. Lemon acknowledged that Democrats had a tendency to be preachy and assume that others were on the same political spectrums and ideologies as them, but noted that, and I quote, I do understand the frustration of progressives when it comes to equality. Earlier this week, Carville blamed Democrats for surprisingly weak performances and losses in states like Virginia and New Jersey on stupid wokeness, and we talked about that. Carville also said, this is according to the Hill article, where it wasn't really mentioned in the previous article. Carville said, "What went wrong